This is a hoax. This is the greatest hoax. This is just a continuation of what's been playing out, John, for the last, since my election.
U.S. President Donald Trump lashes out as an impeachment inquiry gets underway in Congress. Hello, I'm Anand Naidu, and this is The Heat. A formal impeachment inquiry into President Donald Trump has begun here in Washington. It follows a whistleblower report that he tried to coerce the Ukrainian president into investigating former Vice President Joe Biden and his son. Mr. Trump says he did nothing wrong. For more, we turn now to CGTN's Nathan King at the White House. And Nathan, this has been a very fast-moving story. Bring us up to speed. What's the latest you have?
Yeah, absolutely right. Everything centers on a July 25th phone call between the U.S. president and President Zelensky of Ukraine, where, according to the whistleblower, but also a released partial transcript from the White House, where it looks like he's basically asking for a favor. He says exact words, which was to investigate Joe Biden and his son into some sort of business dealings, which have been investigated before, and these allegations seemingly completely without merit. The difference is the U.S. president says the call was perfect. The impeachment inquiry into this call and surrounding matters thinks that the law is on their side and also the morality of the misuse of power. But the U.S. president is doubling down. He doesn't mind saying it in front of the cameras, including other countries like China. Let's have a listen.
What exactly did you hope Zelensky would do about the Bidens after your phone call?
Well, I would think that if they were honest about it, they'd start a major investigation into the Bidens. It's a very simple answer. They should investigate the Bidens, because how does a company that's newly formed, and all these companies, if you look at, and by the way, likewise, China should start an investigation into the Bidens, because what happened in China is just about as bad as what happened with Ukraine.
John Biden and his son had some business things in China, but again, unfounded allegations. So there's a deeper layer here too. U.S. foreign policy could have been hijacked by this through Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor of New York City under 9/11, the personal lawyer now of U.S. President Trump, has admitted openly that he's gone to Ukraine to urge them to open investigations, sometimes urging State Department officials. The Attorney General has reached out, William Barr, to the UK, Italy, Australia, to try and look into the beginnings of investigation into the president with a Mueller report. So there are big questions about whether the president is using his office to basically score personal points or try and dig up dirt for the oncoming election campaign. Quite incredible stuff when you sit back to think about it, because the 24-hour news cycle just adds another story all the time. But just the sheer allegations of what's been happening are quite incredible.
Nathan, you mentioned impeachment, you mentioned the law. I'm going to take a step back. President Trump is facing potential impeachment. What does that mean? What's the process involved here?
Well, basically, it was in the Constitution. The Founding Fathers, the Federalists, wrote about it, and essentially it was set up to try and avoid sort of foreign influence as well, and a president going rogue. The process, essentially, is that if the president is seen to commit high crimes or misdemeanors, and this has a very wide interpretation, the US Congress can start an impeachment investigation, and then if they find enough evidence, they will present articles of impeachment to the House. They will be discussed through a committee, and then those articles, a little bit like a charge sheet, will then be sent to the Senate. He will then be impeached, but then there's a trial in the Senate, and if 2/3 of senators vote to have him removed from office, he is no longer president. Now, no president has been removed from office via the Senate. Richard Nixon resigned. Bill Clinton was impeached by the House but not convicted in the Senate. Now, this seems an incredible scenario for US President Trump. The math suggests he will be impeached in the House, especially if more evidence comes out. Others also could be impeached as well in the administration. But in the Senate, it will require 20 Republican senators. And remember, this is the party of Donald Trump now, to flip and vote with Democrats, as if all Democrats vote to convict, and then he would be removed. There is a long political fight ahead, and the temperature here is rising by the hour in Washington.